Welcome to this video. My name is Christian from Beyond Premiere, and here part 1, a recap of Better Call Saul Season 6. In a flash forward, police seize personal property from Saul Goodman's mansion, including his white Cadillac. As the cabinet is loaded onto a truck, a drawer opens and Kim's souvenir tequila bottle stopper falls to the ground. In the present, Gus arranged for Nacho to hide at a motel. Juan Bosa tells Gus that Nacho aided in killing Lalo and that the cartel has placed a bounty on him. Jimmy and Kim followed through on Kim's plan to force a resolution of the Sandpiper case by ruining Howard. Kim surveils Howard and Cliff Main during a round of golf, while Jimmy sneaks into the club locker room to plant a bag resembling white powder for Howard and Cliff to find. Lalo arrives at the home of his tenants, Sylvia and Mateo, and sadly, he moves Mateo's body to his home to be identified as his. Lalo calls Hector to let him know that he's still alive and that he believes Gus was responsible for the attack. Hector advises him to find proof the cartel will accept. Lalo realizes the proof is not in the United States and abandons his plan to sneak across the border. Gus' men replace Nacho's safe with a duplicate, along with an envelope. Gus and Bolsa promise Hector they will avenge Lalo, but Hector's demeanor convinces Gus that Lalo is still alive. Bolsa breaks into the duplicate safe at Nacho's house, which contains detail of an offshore bank account, as well as the motel's phone number. The cousins arrive at the motel to capture Nacho. Gus orders Nacho's father, Manuel, to be taken hostage to force Nacho to give up his location, but Mike refuses. Nacho calls Mike asking to speak to Gus. Jimmy meets the Kettlemans at their fraudulent tax preparation service and cons them into believing they have grounds for a lawsuit against Howard. They ask Cliff Main to sue for ineffective counsel over Howard's supposed white powder usage during Craig's embezzlement case, but Cliff turns them down. Kim then courts the Kettlemans into remaining silent about smearing Howard. Then someone follows Kim and Jimmy as they leave the Kettlemans' business. The bullet-riddled truck Nacho is driving after his escape from the cousins breaks down, forcing him to hide. The next day he arrives at the mechanic's shop, makes a farewell call to his father, then calls Gus and offers to surrender if his father is protected. Jimmy and Kim plot to obtain a duplicate of Howard's car and abandon the license plate, but realize that actually obtaining access to his car is more easy. Prosecutor Suzanne Erickson connects Jimmy to Lalo and asks him to persuade Jimmy to inform on the Salamancas. Gus arranged for Nacho to be smuggled into the US, and Mike reviewed the details of Gus' plan to absolve Gus of the blame for Lalo's death. Jimmy and Kim work with Hugo to obtain duplicates of Howard's car key. Mike takes up a firing position with his rifle to watch Gus hand Nacho over Bolsa and Hector. Nacho tells them that he killed Lalo and lived with the Alvarez drug family. Rather than pretend to flee so Victor can kill him, Nacho used a piece of broken glass to free himself from his restraints and then kill himself with Bolsa's gun, before saying to Hector that he will die, thinking about how he changed his medical pills. Kim meets with Cliff Main at a coffee shop while Jimmy disguises himself as Howard and takes his car. He picks up Wendy from a motel, then pretends to force her out of the car while driving past Kim and Cliff, making it appear that Howard is using her. While dropping off Wendy, Kim notices a car following her, and Jimmy discovers that defending Lalo has made him a pariah with courthouse staff but popular among local criminals wanting his representation. After being kicked out of the nail salon for attracting high traffic, Jimmy scouts a new office. While meeting a pro bono client, Kim again spots the car that is following her and confronts the driver. Mike reveals that the people following her work for him, that Lalo may be alive, and that he's monitoring anyone Lalo may contact. Obviously shaken, Kim meets with Jimmy at the potential location of his new office and approves of it, but does not reveal her conversation with Mike. Gus uses a home connected to his by a tunnel system as an operations center where men under Mike's supervision monitor Albuquerque for signs of Lalo. Kim and Gus each remain paranoid about Lalo. Kim continues to keep her meeting with Mike secret from Jimmy. Jimmy hires Francesca as his assistant. Kim obtains from Viola the name of the judge who will arbitrate the Sandpiper case. Howard persuades the Sandpiper clients not to settle. Cliff confronts Howard about his apparent white powder usage and his Wendy habits. Howard realizes that Jimmy is sabotaging him, and Howard challenges Jimmy to a boxing match. Howard wins and tells Jimmy that he hopes this ends the dispute, but later asks his private investigator to begin surveilling Jimmy. Kim assures Jimmy their scheme to ruin Howard is still going according to plan. Gus hides a handgun on an excavator at the site of his planned meth lab. Using an alias, Lalo tracks down Werner Ziegler's widow, Marguerite, at a bar in Germany and attempts to obtain information about Werner. The next morning, Lalo breaks into Marguerite's home and finds a Lucid sculpture with the Marcus label on the base, which was a gift from Werner's construction crew. Marguerite returns home unexpectedly, but Lalo succeeds in escaping unseen. Howard's private investigator reports Jimmy and Kim are keeping a regular routine, except for a recent $20,000 cash withdrawal. Kim and Jimmy procure a drug from Dr. Caldera for use in their scheme against Howard. Caldera says he's retiring from crime and shows Kim and Jimmy his encrypted book of criminal contacts. Jimmy and his camera crew photograph an actor impersonating Ran Casimiro, the mediator in the Sandpiper case. Cliff invites Kim to Santa Fe to meet the representative of a foundation that finances projects similar to her pro bono criminal defense work, which coincides with the day she and Jimmy will execute their plan against Howard. Jimmy encourages her to go, but later spots Casimiro, whose recently broken arm is in a cast, something not depicted in their photos. Kim cancels her Santa Fe plans and drives back to Albuquerque. In Germany, Lalo tracks down Casper, a member of Werner's crew. He gains the upper hand in an ensuing struggle and prepares to interrogate Casper about his work for Werner. Now the last episode, episode 7. On the day of the Sandpiper settlement conference, Jimmy and Kim scramble to restage their photos with the actor impersonating Casimiro, then pass them to Howard's private investigator, who is actually working for them. Howard embarrassing himself at the conference by falsely accusing Casimiro of accepting a bride. Howard and Cliff are forced to settle the Sandpiper case for less than they wanted. Lalo surveils Gus' laundry, surmising that Gus monitors Hector's phone calls. Lalo tells Hector that he will attack Gus that night. Mike plays a recording of the call for Gus and then redirects his team for lower priority targets to protect Gus. Howard pieces together the entire con and goes to Kim's apartment to confront her and Jimmy. This is where Lalo arrives soon afterward, as Jimmy and Kim tells Howard to leave immediately. This is where Lalo kills Howard with a gunshot. And that is how part 1 ends. What are your thoughts on the part 1? Leave your comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, one.